Every Wednesday, Pope Francis invites people to come to the Vatican and hear him speak. It's called his Wednesday audience. And for those of you who are going on the trip to Italy in October, you'll get to experience that firsthand. Sometimes he'll do a question and answer session as part of that. And a couple of years ago, someone stood up and asked, "Holy Father, what does a person have to do in order to follow God's will?" And he said, in order to follow God's will, you have to ask Jesus what he wants from you and then be brave. Each of us has something that Jesus is asking us to do, and we have to figure out how to muster the courage to do it. There is no way that we can be excused from this, because all that we're receiving from this, the richness that we're receiving, that has to be passed on. We can't hoard that for ourselves. It has to go somewhere. And so all of us have a task of spreading it. And we hear in the gospel that he wants us to go out 2 by 2, not on our own. This is too big a job to do without support. Go with others and spread this message of healing and love everywhere. And he says there's 2 things you can bring with you and 4 things that are prohibited on this flight. The 2 things you bring are a walking stick and sandals. That doesn't tell us much, but at least we know it's a journey. You don't bring a walking stick and sandals to go to some condo somewhere. This is for people who are going to be moving. But the things that are prohibited are interesting. They're exactly the things we want to take. He says, don't bring extra food, don't bring clothes, don't bring luggage, and don't bring any spending money. So I just got back from vacation, and those are exactly the things that I packed. That's exactly what we would want to bring with us. So what does he mean with these 2 lists? When I was coming back from vacation this week, I was in a middle seat on a plane. On my right sat my friend, and on my left was a stranger. So I used some of the flight time to ask my friend what I should preach about this weekend. We had the readings out. We'd actually been doing that a lot of the week, kind of just talking about it, mulling it over. It's fun to have someone to do that with. And then the woman sitting next to me, a stranger, said, "I hate to interrupt, but I just can't help it. I'm so interested in what you're talking about. I'm a Catholic, and I can tell that you're talking about the readings for this weekend, and I just love the conversation." And then that caused my friend to immediately say, "He's a priest." But it was a great conversation about what this really meant. And I just asked, all right, what does this gospel mean to you? And I gave her some time with the readings, and then I wound up putting in earbuds and watching a comedy or something. And then when she was done with it, we had such a remarkable talk. She said, here's what I think it means. All of us need to share what God has done in our lives. But the reason that we don't is that we think we have to have a degree in religion first. That we have to have an answer for any question we might be asked. We think that we have to be an expert in theology. And she said, that's not true. All Jesus wants us to do is be experts in our own experience of God. That's the only thing we have to be an expert in, is what God has done in our lives. And we can all do that. She said, it doesn't matter how much you know. You just have to share what God has done for you. Which caused me to remember a plaque that a friend had seen one time in a diner and told me about. It said, in God's courtroom, there's no need for attorneys, only witnesses. We don't have to argue anything. We just have to tell others what God has done in our life. So then I said, what do you think the sandals and the walking stick are all about? And she said, well, the walking stick is representing my faith. I use my faith like a walking stick all the time. And she told me 4 ways that she did it. It holds me up while I'm on the journey. It's something I can lean on when the gravity of life starts weighing me down too much. It prevents me from falling. I can use it to break a fall. And it provides me some security. I know that I'll have protection with this stick if I need it. My faith does all those things for me. It provides support and protection. It helps me bear the burden of life. I think he wants us to use our faith. Okay, that's pretty good. What do you think the sandals are all about? I asked her. And she said, well, we do say that Jesus is the way. Isn't that what the sandals are about? She said, walking in the footsteps, in the way of the Master. All we need to do is have our faith and the teachings of Jesus, and we've got everything that we need. I don't have to be an expert in anything but my own experience. God is going to provide everything else that we need. The only thing I'm in charge of is staying faithful to sharing this with others. I don't know if this has ever happened to you on a trip, but during this week that I was away, there was a point when I thought I had lost my cell phone charger for a day. I don't know about you, but I almost called 911. I couldn't live without it. I didn't know how that was going to work. I had another moment like that when I found out that the people I was staying with for a couple days were vegan and that there was no half and half for my coffee in the morning. 911 almost got a call then, too. But this is exactly why Jesus says, I don't want you taking all that stuff. Don't bring your half and half. Don't bring all of your devices. You don't need all of that. And here's why. When we bring everything we need, we start thinking that we're the ones that are the providers. I have a friend who's a mom who told me that her purse is so heavy it is beginning to injure her. Can any of you relate to that? When you've got kids, the purse that you wear is so jam-packed full of stuff that you could have a divot on your shoulder from it. And that's exactly what Jesus doesn't want us to be weighed down by. He says you don't have to bring all this stuff because then you're going to think, oh, everything I need is in mom's purse. But no, actually, everything that we need is in the hand of God. The miracles in our life are never found by looking in our bag and pulling something out. The miracle happens when we don't have what we need and we think, what are we going to do now? And then God provides it. The miracle never comes from what we have. It always comes from what we lack. So, this week we are being invited to ask ourselves, what is it that is stopping me from doing what God is calling me to do with my life? What is it? What am I waiting for? Is it waiting for a guarantee that everything's going to work out? Because, by the time you get to the age any of us are, you know that there's no guarantees in life. We're not going to get a guarantee. We can't use that as something we need. Is it that we want to feel more secure before we do it? We need more security? Well, security is only going to come from God. You don't get secure from outside things. And we know this. We all know people, if not in our own lives, then celebrities, who have more money than they could ever spend in a lifetime. And they still want more. They're insecure. They don't have what they need on some level. They're always looking for another thing or another facelift to get them through. Security never comes from outside. It always comes from God. So maybe that's the issue for us is the faith that we have is like a walking stick, and we want more support than that. And God is saying, you don't need it. A lot of us would like our faith to be like a floodlight that shines light on the whole path in front of us. So we can see the end goal perfectly, and we can see everything between here and there, and we just walk along. But that's not how faith is. Faith is not like a floodlight. It's way more like a flashlight that we shine in the forest and we can just see one more step. So then we walk into that light and then the light goes just a little further and just a little further. That's really how the journey of faith goes. Pope Francis said, ask Jesus what he wants from you and be brave. We now know exactly what Jesus wants from us. We've just heard it. So are you ready to be brave?